last few years, many of PBS's most popular series have celebrated major milestones. Think 30 years on the air, 40 years on the air, and so forth. Shows like Masterpiece Theater, now Masterpiece, American Masters, Nature, and more recently, Frontline. This Saturday night, one of the most popular long-running series, or I should say specials, in the history of PBS will be back. Now it's celebrating year 35. We're talking about a Capitol 4th, a 90-minute spectacular with all sorts of things happening live for the nation's capital. And this year, a very star-studded group will be performing in front of the U.S. Capitol. We'll meet the people who've made this series, of specials happen in a moment. But right now, let's strike up the band, the crowd, and the fireworks. Yes, it is something spectacular. And again, it happens again this Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on most PBS stations. Joining us live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and a simulcast exclusive as they get ready to gear up for this Saturday night, we've got the father and son team who make this special happen. First up, the founder and executive producer of A Capitol 4th, Jerry Colbert. Jerry, it's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you, Simon. Happy to be here.
And alongside of you is your son and the co-executive producer, Michael Colbert. Michael, great to have you aboard. Thanks for making the time.
Oh, thanks for having us, Simon. Big time.
Jerry, how did this project come to be and become 35?
Well, the National Symphony 36 years ago wanted to do a concert on the lawn of the Capitol where the president gets inaugurated. And they got it together, and when I found out about it, I went to them and said, you know, I think we ought to televise this and make it into a national event for the entire country. So we began very well. We were, let's say, pinched for money and other things, and we had Pearl Bailey and the National Symphony, and we had a truck I borrowed, a technical truck I borrowed from the local public television station that was old and rusty, etc. And we put the cameras out and tried to start up the console, and it wouldn't work. And so I said to the director, well, what's going on? He said, oh, you got to hit it a few times with your hand. So he whacked it, and the thing started up, and I went, oh, God, here we go, So that was 35 years ago, and now we have a great crew from the Academy Awards and the Grammys and the Tonys and Country Music Awards and the best people in the business, and 20 cameras and the whole palette of Washington to play on, the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson, the Washington Monument, and the Capitol. And it makes for a beautiful environment and a beautiful program.
And Michael, this is as big a production as you will find on July 4th. We know that in addition to what you do, NBC has the Macy's fireworks here in New York. Other people, whether it's networks or stations, do other things. Why do you think this particular program has been so enduring?
Well, I think that, when you look at it, I mean, John Adams, 239 years ago, said that we should continue the tradition of celebrating our independence with pomp and parade, bonfires and illuminations. And what better place than Washington, D.C., with all of those icons, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson, the White House, the Capitol. And I just think there's something extra special about being here in America's hometown for July 4th.
Jerry, how long does it take to put together a spectacular like this with the talent you've got?
Well, we did the National Memorial Day concert as well, but it takes over 6 months to put the two of them together. You have to, book the stars, and you go through a lot of managers. A lot of people are busy. A lot of people are taking the weekends and the holidays off. And then you have to raise the money, and you have to work out all the arrangements. We deal with over 20 government and corporate entities, and that takes a while to work all that out. So it takes quite a while, more than people would ever imagine.
And how long before the show happens? Right now, you're in the final week. You got 5 days to go or so. When is the final lineup set? Do you have like an aim? Let's say a week before, 2 weeks ago, you pretty much know how it's going to go in terms of the talent you've got, the cameras, how they're placed, and so on.
Oh yes, yeah. We're all booked, and everybody's repertoire is set, and the director is in town now working on the shots, and the writer is here, and the whole team is here. So we're all set to go. You have to be with anything this big. You just can't pull it out at the last second.
Mm-hmm. Michael, when did you go from being, watching what your father was doing every July 4th to being actively involved?
Well, having grown up around this, it was pretty special, even as a kid, to run around and help. And, it was something I wanted to be with him. This was so special. I spent a lot of years working around the country, in New York on the Tonys, Nashville on the CMAs, out in Los Angeles on a lot of talk shows and other things. But my goal always was to learn as much as I could to help build up what we're doing here. And after 35 years, to have this big a lineup and to do something that really has meaning, to remembering our freedom, to remembering our independence, sure is something special. But to do it with your dad, let me tell you something, it sure makes it pretty great.
We are speaking with Jerry and Michael Colbert. They are the founder, executive producer, and the co-executive, respectively, of one of the top programs you can watch live on July 4th this Saturday night. A Capitol 4th, edition number 35, kicks off 8 p.m. Eastern Time on most PBS stations. And if you're not in front of a TV set watching on PBS, you can listen on most NPR, National Public Radio stations, because they will simulcast the program. Our guests are with us live from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, where the program takes place, right here this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Michael, who are some of the favorite guests that you've had on over the time that both you and your father have been involved in the program?
Well, we've been blessed. We've had so many great artists over the years. I mean, from Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, and my personal favorite, the one and only Ray Charles. That was, it still gives me goosebumps thinking about that amazing moment when he sang America the Beautiful as the fireworks were bursting here in Washington. Amazing moment.
Jerry, how about you? What are some of your favorite moments over the last 35?
Well, just last year, John Williams came and made a special arrangement of the national anthem, and we've had, Steve Martin on was wonderful, and Neil Diamond, and Frankie Valli, and Aretha, and Philip Phillips, and Josh Groban, and Cab Calloway. His last big performance, it was terrific. Him up there doing the Heidi Ho with several 100,000 people, and Chuck Berry and the Muppets, and then some of the real characters of show business in Little Richard and the pianist Michael Jerry Lee Lewis, and I mean
he was great.
They and then Darren Criss from and Amber Riley, from recent Fair on Fox, and so we've had a lot of wonderful performers over the years, and some great performances, and a lot of fun.
Michael, you and I were talking a moment ago before we went on the air, about John Williams, who both of us consider the greatest maybe American composer ever, and certainly in the 20th century, going into the 21st century. Brilliant in television, brilliant in film, brilliant whatever he does. And it really must have been very special to have him contribute beyond just conducting the orchestra, to have an original piece or an adaptation of something, his handiwork, let's say, on the air.
I can't begin to tell you. I'm in awe of him, not only as such an amazing composer and conductor, but as such a gentleman. He is an amazing, wonderful man. We honored him several years ago for all of his great work, which he came and played a medley of, some of his just the greatest movie hits and things, from the Olympics and others. A couple of years ago, we were so honored that he came and did the score from Lincoln, the feature film, and Steven Spielberg introduced that. But, as my dad, as Jerry was just saying, Simon, last year that he adapted and made our wonderful national anthem on its 200th anniversary even better than it's always been. I can't begin to tell you how lucky we feel to have had that experience with him.
And some of his best work, Jerry, has been with Americana themes, like all the Olympic music he did, starting with the 1984 Summer Olympic Games. I remember when I saw it live on ABC when it was originally presented, beautifully put together through producer David O. Whooper. Still one of the best Olympic themes and music themes you'll ever hear. What he's done for NBC News, what he's done for the Statue of Liberty restoration, et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to purely American music, there's no peer.
And we do a piece of his almost every year, the Liberty Fanfare, and to start off the program for the 4th of July, because it's so full of energy, and we go around the city, and it feels like the Olympics. Mm-hmm. So he's a one of a kind and a very special gentleman.
Jerry, this year you have an all-star lineup. You've got Alabama, you have Barry Manilow, you have one of the former Pussycat Girls, Nicole Schlesinger. Some of us know her also from when she was on Dancing with the Stars, won that competition that year. Fantastic. I think if she wants a ballroom dance career, she's got it. She really was magnificent. Casey and the Sunshine Band. Do you always try to go every year for certain categories, like a country music act, a popular rock band from the past, somebody current, and so on? How's it work to get the mix you want?
Well, we're trying to involve the whole country. So obviously, country music's the most popular music right now. So you want to have somebody from country, you want to have somebody from Broadway, Hollywood, semi-classical, if you will, and so that you involve everybody. And some of the younger people, like Hunter Hayes and Meghan Linsey, and so we're trying to have something for everybody in a way, because it is the capital, which is the home of the government of the United States, and so we're trying to make it a national program and not just provincial.
Mm-hmm. Michael, this year you have a very interesting twist and a surprise at the same time. This is the 100th anniversary of Frank Sinatra's birthday. I know that PBS has done a number of specials, either on the local or national level, about him already. But what you're going to do is you're going to have an actor that a lot of people may know by sight, if not by name, a wonderful actor named Robert Davi. And he's going to showcase a side of himself that I don't think he's ever presented in public, which is playing Frank Sinatra and actually singing his tunes.
Yeah, Robert actually is just back from a European tour. He's played, Vegas and Foxwoods and Atlantic City, and he's a great singer. Like you say, Simon, he's been in 150 films. Everybody knows his face from Die Hard and the James Bond films, etc. But Robert is also a great singer whose career was started by Frank himself. Frank gave him a break, cast him in a movie, and things took off from there for Robert over 35 years ago, from when he started out as an actor, as a young guy in Queens. So I think this is going to be really special this year as we do a tribute to Frank. And of any time you can sing New York, New York at the Capitol, Robert can do it on this 4th of July for Frank Sinatra.
And he will do it this Saturday night live from Washington, D.C. on the 35th time of a Capitol 4th. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on most PBS stations, and it will be simulcast through most of the country on National Public Radio. So you have to check your locals for both the PBS station in your area and when it runs, as well as the NPR station in your area and when it runs. We'll give you the websites in a little bit. We have the production team of Jerry and Michael Colbert. Jerry is the founder of a Capitol 4th and also the National Memorial Day concert, which was on some time back, also on PBS, and his son, who is the co-executive producer, Michael Colbert. They're both live from the nation's capital this half hour in a simulcast exclusive on Tomorrow We Televised. Simon Applebaum live from Brooklyn Independent Media near the Barclays Center in New York. Happy you are aboard on this Monday afternoon, the Monday before Independence Day weekend. Give us a ring. We want to hear from you. And the number you use is 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, SimonApple04 by name. Next Monday on the program, if you grew up on programs like Lidsville, Land of the Lost, HR Puff and Stuff, The Cross Super Show, etc., we have a treat for you. Marty Krofft of Sid and Marty Krofft will be live with us as my lead guest. And that wonderful brother team that gave us so much imaginative television in daytime and primetime, they are back starting next month with a new Nickelodeon series called Mud and Stuff with the dog whisperer himself, Caesar Milan. Marty Krofft live with us a week from Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on Tomorrow We Televised. Also next Monday, we'll have the people behind Disney Channel's new comedy, Best Friends Whenever. That's all Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, exclusively right here on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Jerry, what is like your favorite guest? Like, do you have a favorite all-time guest or several guests that you've enjoyed over the years in doing it, that really, and one that maybe surprised you more than you thought?
Is that you, Mike, or to me?
Jerry, we'll start with you on this one.
I didn't get the full question. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll repeat it, Jerry. No problem. Is there a guest that really surprised you along the 35 years, that really, in a delightful way, really surprised you in terms of performance or getting along with?
Well, in terms of performance, Ray Charles doing America the Beautiful with, 20 cameras and the fireworks. It was, many people think, the most beautiful version of that song that he ever did, and so that was wonderful. And then, we've had so many wonderful performers. I mean, I think Cab Calloway, long time ago, but he surprised me that at 85 he could get up and do Heidi Ho in Caledonia and have hundreds of thousands of people dancing on their feet, and it was just a marvelous moment. And so there's, been a lot of them that are wonderful, but those two things are really memorable.
Michael, what stands out for you?
Well, Simon, as you can imagine, when you're live and you're outside at the Capitol, the weather has been known to get our attention once or twice. And, 15 years or so ago, the skies really opened up on us just as we were going live. But the Pointer Sisters were with us. They were decked out in red, white, and blue, and they went out there in the rain, and it didn't stop them. They hit a home run, and all of us loved it, and they saved the show. So that's a tough one for me to ever forget.
Jerry, one of the things that has been part of your program has been the duo of Miller. Walter Miller, wonderful producer-director whose work I've admired for many, many years on all sorts of things, and Paul Miller, who has also come on strong as a major director. What's it like working with them, and do you give them any sort of ground rules?
Well, we've been very fortunate. Walter worked in early television on the Bell Telephone Hour, and he did the Grammys for 40 years and the Country Music Awards for 40 years. And so he loves music and was a real pro. And he loved to do something of integrity like this, where he could, all of us could put our best foot forward. So he didn't need any rules. He brought creativity and ideas and comedy, because he did comedy as well for many, many years, and he did all the big comics. And so it would be so much fun, and we'd go out to dinner. I'd be out in L.A. for 3 or 4 days planning it, and then we'd go out to dinner and just laugh and have a wonderful time together. So he's been a buddy for a long, long time, and his son Paul did Saturday Night Live for many years, and he's done the Super Bowl, and he does the Country Music Awards now. And so it's wonderful to have real pros around you that you're friends with and that you can be creative with.
And all those pros, and both of you, Jerry and Michael, will be around this Saturday night when a Capitol 4th, edition number 35, happens live from the nation's capital. You can find it only on PBS. On most PBS stations, it begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, runs 90 minutes till 9:30. Remember to check your local listings for the PBS station in your area and when they play it. Most stations will run it live. Some will run on tape delay. Also, if you can't watch live, National Public Radio will simulcast the program in stereo in most markets. So for more details on both situations, first, for the television version, go to www.pbs.org. And for the simulcast, go to www.npr.org to learn the affiliate in or near you that is running the program. Jerry Colbert, Michael Colbert, thank you both very much for taking the time on a very, very busy week to join us. All the very best this Saturday night with number 35, and hopefully, definitely your venture runs so much long. Thank you for giving us so much pleasure over the last 3 decades and a half. All the very best for equally more.
Thank you, Simon, and thanks for an enjoyable interview and for the attention you're drawing to what we're trying to do for the country.
Absolutely. Jerry and Michael, it's our pleasure. All the greatest. Take care. Have a wonderful broadcast and a wonderful holiday weekend.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks
Take
for
care.
everything, Simon.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Jerry and Michael Colbert joining us live from Washington, D.C., and we really do appreciate it given what they're dealing with this week. We really do appreciate the time.